All right, folks. So given that this launched today, I wanted to share with you my MozCon presentation from just like a month ago. I took out most of it, but here's a couple highlights. So again, the concept is thanks instead of ranks, right? It's the same thing over and over again. So one of the things I had done for one of our clients is when you engram, so this is about engramming stuff, because engrams are massive clues for you on disconnects potentially with your customer. If you're in paid search, you have all these search terms. If you engram out those search terms, you start to be able to see when a word is added to another word, how much does my cost per lead go up or down? That is an opportunity to understand a trend in how your customer is changing their language. And in that language change, do we not convert as well? Great indication that you're ranking for a word or you're bidding on a word, but you might not be solving that problem. All right, let me go to the next thing. So one of the things that I like to do is look at cost per acquisition over the last 3 months for all the different engrams related to spend and conversion. So this is how we end up finding out where are there certain words where we lose efficiency over time. And the message was simple, like we want to have customers that are happy with the content they get, right? Basic stuff. I didn't need this Google update to tell me that, right? So what ends up happening when you don't process those clues is on paid, at least, you could be launching pages where someone's looking for a black OBGYN and there's not a black person to be found. Look for disconnects between areas where you rank and you're paying, and you'll see where when you have to earn it or you're not earning it, where there might be issues. Because what happens when we don't do our jobs well is sites like this get to rank for words related to black doctors in Philadelphia because nobody's carving out their content that way and checking these engrams to see, oh, I might need to start to talk about something in a different way. And then bad sites like that rank. The other area where we talked about customer disappointment was when Google shows a domain like Etsy for something that is attached to certain types of words. So when you look at the domains Google shows, it can also give you a clue, because Etsy to me means a whole lot more than Etsy.com. It means people are looking for handmade, small business, etc. So for this one example, which you're going to have to get the video, I showed how that kind of works. All right, another example where engrams are helpful is around looking at the domain mix of who's able to rank. And what we did here is we took the word auto under auto insurance, then we looked at the word cheap, and we went, ooh, there's more diversity with publishers when these kinds of engrams are added to the word auto or auto insurance. So that diversity helped us to understand what kind of sites Google wants to reward. Very often those publishers, right, better content than the brand. So adding cheap affects that. So then I got to think more like a publisher if I want to win on those words. All right, another thing you should be looking for is Google just gives us tons of clues when we Google words. So if I'm writing content around killing spiders, maybe I should also break down all the different rooms and places that people are highly likely to want to kill spiders. The clue is right in front of your face. You just got to Google it and take a look. We talked about disappointment with images. And I said, hey, if Google's showing images in the top 2, 3, 4 results, they feel pretty confident that these things are the right answer. So then you can put those images into the API. You can then compare it to your image that you've picked, and you can see what are the characteristics of the images that Google is ranking in the top 3, 4, 5, and then what are the characteristics of my images that I have on my page. Maybe you're disconnecting with the customer on what they actually would want, but how do you know what kind of images to pick for your landing pages? This could be one of the ways that you could do it. And then last thing I'm going to say, I'm going to give you an example, is around PAAs. So we harvest almost 1 million people also ask questions because we believe strongly that this is a way to understand how people are looking for answers to problems that our clients' landing pages may not solve, and we want to know that early, okay? So I'm going to skip through that, but here's a manual example that I've done. So when you engram out, the people also ask words. So I got MBA, degree, online, worth, and it. I started realizing that worth was showing up a ton for this client education. And then when I looked at the pages, it's like, well, in order to know if something's worth it or not, you need to know how much money am I going to make when I leave and how much does it cost? And on this page, Babson gives it to you straight, right? But most of the other sites that were brands, at least, this is why publishers were winning for this keyword, they consistently did not talk about how much you were probably going to make. And the people also ask is telling you this is on the mind of people that are searching for online MBAs. So that's why you want to harvest those clues so that you can make better pages that better connect with what Google already understands the customer is looking for to get a more complete answer. And as you can see, page after page after page that I just showed didn't do that. That's your 5-minute tip on the helpful content update. We've been at this for a while, so hopefully I'll be able to surface more content that we've written and more strategies that we've dropped over the last 4 or 5 years around how to better understand your customer so that you don't get hit by updates like this as Google refines it in the future. Good luck.